My stepdaughter cheated me for her abusive real dad, so I secretly exposed their lies and made her see who truly loved her all along. I was 7 years old when I fell in love with my best friend Sophia. I remember sitting on the swings with her, thinking her eyes were really cool. But before I could say anything, she told me about her new crush, Tyler. That moment set the tone for our friendship. We stayed close until we were 19, taking the same college course. One night, Sophia came to my dorm, drunk as heck. "You know, Andrew, you're cute," she said. I wasn't sure what she meant until she leaned in. Because of how drunk she was, I rejected her advance. I didn't want her to regret anything. The next day, we didn't talk about it. In fact, we never talked about it again. 2 years later, she married another man, and we drifted apart. I stayed single, so in love with Sophia that it wouldn't have been fair to date anyone else. 4 years after her divorce, we reconnected. Now, 17 years later, we're married and together. Our relationship has been a dream. Well, kind of. There was one caveat: Sophia's 17-year-old daughter, Becky. Despite Sophia having a restraining order against her ex-husband, Becky never warmed to me. Her brattiness, combined with her resentment, was a deadly combination. One day, she asked to borrow my debit card for a school trip. Parenting books emphasize trusting your kids, so I ignored my instincts and let her. Then I got a phone notification. She had spent over $200 at Zara. I didn't want to overstep, so I went to Sophia first. "She probably thought she had your permission," Sophia said. "Don't be dramatic. I just wanted our family to be happy, so I agreed with her." Less than 2 weeks later, Sophia broke my heart. I let Becky borrow my work laptop to play music while getting ready for school, warning her not to download anything. If I got a virus, I'd be in trouble. She smiled, hugged me, and I thought we were bonding. On my way to work, stuck in traffic, I decided to review the project I was presenting. When I opened the laptop, the screen glitched, froze, and went black. Becky had downloaded a sketchy music app that installed malware, wiping half my files and corrupting the presentation folder I'd worked on for 6 months. That presentation was critical for a promotion, watched by the CEO, VP, and president of my company. I nearly cried. Luckily, my good reputation saved me, and they let me off the hook. At home, I told Sophia I didn't get the promotion because of Becky. Her face fell. "Oh, baby, it's okay. There'll be other chances," she said. I interrupted, explaining what Becky did. She wiped the sadness from her face, and we argued for 10 minutes about whether Becky meant to do it. I conceded, too fed up to confront Becky. The next morning, Becky came into my bedroom. "Hey, Mom told me what happened." "I'm sorry," she said, her voice shaking. My face lit up. "Hey, it's okay. These things happen. The most important thing is owning up to mistakes and apologizing," I said. I didn't know it then, but the worst was yet to come. Becky asked to borrow my car for an outdoor movie night at the park. Thinking of the parenting books, I agreed. "Thank you, Dad. Thank you," she said, hugging me. It was the first time she called me Dad. I smiled so long my cheekbones hurt. That evening, I planned to surprise her with a McDonald's meal. As I approached her room, I heard her on the phone. I swear, parents are the dumbest people alive. My stepdad actually thinks I like him. Like, I want your car, not you. I dropped the McDonald's bag, my heart burning with hurt. I went to bed to avoid doing something I'd regret. The next day, I devised a petty revenge plan. I called my buddy who tows cars, and my car was brought to the auto repair shop. When I looked inside, Becky wasn't alone. She was on a date I had just ruined. Seeing her embarrassed and shocked face, I couldn't help but laugh. She wasn't laughing. A flicker of anger crossed her eyes. Ooh, big and scary Becky. Like, what is she going to do? I thought. She muttered, "You're going to regret this," as she stormed past, dragging her date along. I drove her home in thick silence. At home, Sophia was waiting at the door, arms crossed. "What the hell, Andrew?" she demanded. "You had our daughter's car towed while she was on a date? What kind of power move is that?" I explained the McDonald's incident and the phone conversation, how Becky was using me. Sophia's expression softened slightly, but she thought my reaction was extreme. "We'll talk to her together," she promised, "but you can't pull stunts like this. She's a teenager, they say stupid things to friends." That night, Becky refused to join our family meeting. The next morning, she was eerily pleasant at breakfast, smiling and asking about my day. Her sudden change sent chills down my spine. This wasn't over. At work, distracted, I got a dozen missed calls from Sophia. When I reached her, she was hysterical. "The school just called," she sobbed. Becky told her guidance counselor, "You've been inappropriate with her, Andrew. They're launching an investigation. They've called CPS." My blood ran cold. This wasn't a prank. It threatened my life, reputation, and freedom, all because I tried to teach a manipulative teenager about honesty. "She's lying," I said through shock. "You know she's lying, right?" The pause before Sophia answered felt eternal. "I want to believe you," she said. "But why would she make this up?" The air left my lungs. The drive home was a blur, replaying Sophia's hesitation. Did she think I was capable of something so vile after all these years? At home, Becky sat at the kitchen counter, eating cereal like nothing happened. Her eyes flicked to me, and I swear I saw a smirk before she looked at her phone. Sophia paced in the living room, tear-streaked and pale, nervously twisting her sweater. "What exactly did she say to the counselor?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. Sophia glanced at Becky, who pretended not to listen but was clearly eavesdropping. "Let's talk in our room," she whispered, leading me down the hallway. Once the door closed, Sophia broke down. According to the counselor, Becky claimed I'd made her uncomfortable with lingering hugs and walking in on her changing. Complete lies, vague enough to raise concerns without being dismissible. The calculated nature chilled me. "You know none of this is true, right?" I said, my voice cracking. "This is because I embarrassed her with the car. She told me I'd regret it." Sophia rubbed her temples, her wedding ring catching the light. "I want to believe you, Andrew, but the timing of your car prank looks bad. Like you were trying to catch her in a compromising position. I couldn't believe it. Are you serious?" "I had no idea she was on a date. Why would I? God, Sophia, you know me after 10 years. How can you entertain this thought?" She wouldn't meet my eyes, staring at a family photo from happier times. "CPS is coming tomorrow for an assessment. They'll talk to us separately." That night, I slept on the couch, or tried to. Every creak set my nerves on edge. Around 3 in the morning, Becky appeared in the living room doorway, watching me. When she saw I was awake, she didn't flinch. "You should have just let me have the car," she said flatly, her silhouette framed by the dim hallway light. "Becky, this has gone too far," I whispered, sitting up. "Do you understand what you're doing? These accusations ruin lives, destroy families. Is that what you want?" She shrugged, the gesture at odds with the situation's severity. "Maybe you should have thought about that before embarrassing me in front of Jake. He hasn't texted me back. Probably thinks I'm a loser with a psycho stepdad." "So this is about a boy?" I said, disbelief in my voice. "You're willing to destroy our family over a high school crush?" She stared coldly. "You're not my family," she said, walking back to her room, leaving me with the crushing weight of her words. The CPS interview was grueling. The caseworker, Patricia, scrutinized every gesture, her pen hovering over her notepad. I told her everything, my history with Sophia, the recent incidents with Becky. When I mentioned overhearing Becky's phone conversation about using me for my car, Patricia's expression didn't change. "And you felt it was appropriate to retaliate by having her car towed while she was with a friend?" she asked, making notes. "It wasn't retaliation," I insisted. "It was a lesson about honesty. I had no idea she was with anyone. It's my car she borrowed. I was parenting, not punishing." Patricia nodded neutrally. "Mr. Mitchell, has your relationship with Becky always been strained, or is this recent?" I explained how close we were when she was younger, how things changed in her teens, how I tried to connect, supporting her hobbies, attending school events, learning about her favorite bands. "This feels like the ultimate betrayal after years of trying to be a good stepfather," I said. "And you've never behaved inappropriately toward her?" she asked directly, eyes locked on mine. "Never," I said, meeting her gaze. "I would never harm Becky or any child. The suggestion makes me ill." After Patricia left, the house felt like a war zone. Sophia said Becky had doubled down, adding details about me commenting on her appearance. It was like watching my life collapse. "I think you should stay with a friend for a few days," Sophia said that evening, her voice barely audible. "Just until this gets sorted out." My heart shattered. "You're kicking me out of my own home based on lies?" "I'm trying to protect everyone," she said weakly, wrapping her arms around herself. "If you're innocent, this will blow over." "If I'm innocent?" I repeated. She wouldn't look at me, her gaze fixed on the floor. "I don't know what to believe anymore, Andrew." I packed a bag while Becky watched from her doorway, her stance triumphant despite her neutral expression. As I left, she whispered, "Bye, Dad," in a mocking tone that twisted the knife deeper. I stayed with my friend Robert for a week. My boss let me work remotely, but whispers started at the office. Someone from HR called after Sophia mentioned the situation to a coworker who knew someone at my company. The rumor mill turned my reputation to dust. Isolation was the worst part. Most friends shared with Sophia weren't sure who to believe. My sister Jessica was my only unwavering supporter. "Becky's been manipulating situations for years," she reminded me. "Remember when she said I knocked over her science project on purpose? She's a pathological liar when she wants something." 10 days after moving out, I got a text from an unknown number. "I know Becky is lying. Meet me at Riverside Park at 4 p.m. today. Come alone." Desperate for support, I went. A gangly teenage boy, Jake, sat on a bench, nervously bouncing his leg. "Are you Andrew?" he asked. When I nodded, he continued, "I'm Jake. I was with Becky in your car that night. He explained they'd been casually dating. That night, Becky bragged about manipulating her stupid stepdad by pretending to be nice. She showed Jake texts about wanting my car, not me. She planned to hook up in my car for laughs and wanted to get my credit card info next. "Why tell me?" I asked, wary of a trap. Jake scuffed his sneaker. "She's doing the same to me. I broke things off after that night. Her talk about you freaked me out. So she told everyone I forced myself on her in your car. Now nobody talks to me. And the principal called my parents." I felt vindicated and horrified. "Do you have those texts?" I asked. He nodded, showing me his phone. "I saved everything. I was going to show the principal, but I heard what she's saying about you and got scared they'd think I'm retaliating. We made a plan. Jake would forward the texts, and I'd show them to Patricia. But Becky stayed one step ahead. When I called Patricia, she said Becky had already cast Jake as a bitter ex out to hurt her, even crying about him pressuring her to change her story. "These texts could be fabricated," Patricia said skeptically. "We see this kind of retaliation in cases like yours often." "Cases like mine?" I repeated, gripping the phone. "You mean where innocent people are set up by manipulative teenagers?" Her silence spoke volumes. In her mind, I was already guilty. That night, I hit rock bottom, staring at old family photos, Becky's 10th birthday, her hugging me after opening the art set I bought Christmas, when she insisted I help build her Lego set. Where had that girl gone? My phone buzzed with a text from Sophia. "Need to talk. Can you come by tomorrow when Becky's at school?" 10 a.m. I barely slept, torn between hope and fear of an ambush. When I arrived, Sophia looked terrible. Dark circles, unwashed hair, wearing the same sweatshirt from 2 weeks ago. "I found something," she said, pushing Becky's unlocked tablet toward me. It was open to Instagram DMs with karma.queen97, detailing Becky's schemes, the debit card, the laptop virus, using my car, the false accusations. Karma Queen97 coached her on making her story believable. "There's more," Sophia said, swiping to another conversation. Becky had been in contact with her father, Mark, planning to move in with him when she turned 18 next year. Mark, the ex with anger issues and a restraining order, had been feeding Becky lies. I stole her real family, betrayed them by marrying Sophia, was dead to him. She was his only connection to his real family. It clicked. Becky's change in her teens wasn't just rebellion. Mark had been poisoning her against us for years. "Have you shown this to Patricia?" I asked, hope rising. Sophia nodded, tears streaming. "This morning. She's reopening the investigation, focusing on Mark's involvement." The front door slammed open. Becky stood there, face contorted with rage. She was supposed to be at school but had figured out what was happening. "You went through my tablet," she screamed at Sophia. "How could you? I'm your daughter." "Becky, calm down," Sophia said, standing. "We need to talk about your father, the things he's been telling you to do." "Don't call him that," I said automatically, regretting it when Becky's furious gaze locked on me. "You," she hissed. "This is all your fault. We were fine before you came back." "Dad said you'd turn Mom against me. He was right. Your dad is manipulating you," Sophia said gently. "The lies he told you to tell about Andrew, they're wrong. They could have sent an innocent man to jail." Becky's face crumpled briefly before hardening. "You don't understand. Dad needs me. I'm all he has." "So you were willing to destroy me to please him?" I asked, hurt in my voice. "You're not my real dad," she shot back. "You're some pathetic guy obsessed with my mom for like 20 years. It's creepy." Her words stung, but I saw they weren't hers. They were Mark's, planted in her mind. "Maybe I'm not your biological father," I said carefully, "but I've loved you since you were 5, Becky. I was there when you were scared of thunderstorms, checking under your bed for monsters. I helped with science projects, taught you to ride a bike. Where was Mark?" Something flickered in her eyes, doubt or a memory of our bond, but it vanished. "I hate you both," she declared, grabbing her keys. "I'm going to Dad's. At least he wants me." "Becky, wait," Sophia called, but she was gone, the door slamming. Sophia collapsed, sobbing. "This is my fault. I should have seen what Mark was doing. I took her hand. It's not your fault. Mark's still the same manipulative person, just with a new target." "We need to stop her," Sophia said, standing. "Mark's restraining order is in effect." We followed the route to Mark's apartment in Sophia's car. Becky's car, technically mine, was parked haphazardly in the visitor spot. We heard shouting before reaching Mark's door, Becky's voice high and panicked. "You said they wouldn't find out. You promised." Mark's response was muffled but angry. Sophia pounded on the door. "Mark, open up!" "Becky, are you okay?" The door flew open. Mark, older and smaller than I remembered, had bloodshot eyes and stubble. Becky stood behind him, arms crossed, mascara streaking her cheeks. Well, well, Mark sneered, if it isn't the happy couple. Becky, come on, Sophia said, ignoring him. We're going home. She's not going anywhere, Mark said, stepping in front of Becky. She sees you for what you are. I noticed Mark shaking hands, dilated pupils. He was on something. Fear for Becky's safety hit me. Mark, I said calmly, you're violating your restraining order. Sophia could call the police. Let's not make this worse. He laughed bitterly. Go ahead. I'll tell them how you've been messing with my daughter. Who will they believe? They'll believe the evidence, Sophia said firmly. We have Becky's messages, Mark. We know you put her up to lying about Andrew. It's over. Mark's face contorted with rage. He lunged, grabbing Sophia's arm roughly. You think you can threaten me in my home? I shoved myself between them. Don't touch her, I warned. Mark swung wildly, his fist grazing my jaw. I stumbled, knocking over a side table. A framed photo shattered. Stop it, Becky screamed. Dad, stop. This isn't what you promised. Mark froze, turning to her. What are you talking about? I'm protecting you. No, you're not, Becky said, backing away. You said if I got rid of Andrew, we'd be a family again. You said Mom would come back. You're using me like you used her. Her raw hurt pierced through everything. This was a heartbroken girl, not the manipulative teenager. Becky, Sophia said softly, whatever your father promised wasn't real. He can't force me to come back. That's not how love works. She never loved me, Mark spat. She took you and left when things got tough. You hit me, Mark, Sophia said quietly. Things didn't get tough. You became abusive. That's why there's a restraining order. Becky looked shocked. You hit Mom? You told me she overreacted because you threw a plate once. Mark's expression darkened. She's lying, he said, but his voice lacked conviction. She's not, I said gently. I saw the bruises, Becky. I helped your mom move out while you were at your grandmother's. There were holes in the walls of your old apartment. Becky's face crumpled as the truth sank in. You used me, she whispered. Bex, no, Mark tried, reaching for her. She recoiled. Don't call me that. I think we should go, Sophia said, putting an arm around Becky. This time, Becky didn't pull away. This isn't over, Mark threatened as we backed toward the door. She's my daughter, too. Yes, she is, I said, but you need help, Mark. Until you get it, you're hurting her. We left with Becky between us, her body shaking with sobs. In the parking lot, she hugged me fiercely. I'm so sorry, Andrew, she choked out. I'm so sorry. I held her tight, tears in my eyes. I know, kiddo, I know. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. CPS investigations, trust to rebuild, years of manipulation to unravel. But driving home together, the three of us a family despite everything, I felt hope. The drive was silent. I glanced at Becky in the rearview mirror, staring out with puffy eyes. Sophia clutched my hand tightly. Nobody knew what to say after that. The truth was out, but the damage was done. We got home around dinner time, but nobody was hungry. Becky went to her room, closing the door quietly, which felt worse than a slam. Sophia collapsed on the couch, emotionally drained. I should have seen it, she whispered for the 10th time. All those years, Mark was poisoning her. I sat beside her, still hurt that she doubted me. You couldn't have known. He was careful. We ordered pizza, nobody ate. I knocked on Becky's door at 9 p.m. with a plate, but she mumbled she wasn't hungry. I left it outside. The next morning, Patricia called. Sophia put her on speaker. Based on the new evidence and Becky's revised statement, we're closing the investigation against Mr. Mitchell, she said professionally. However, we're opening a case regarding Mr. Wilson's manipulation of a minor. I should have felt relieved, but I felt hollow. My name was cleared, but accusations like that leave marks. What happens now? I asked Sophia. She looked lost. Family therapy, I guess. We can't pretend this didn't happen. Around noon, Becky emerged, looking sleepless. She stood awkwardly in the kitchen doorway, arms wrapped around herself. Can we talk? She asked quietly. We moved to the living room. Becky sat on the armchair's edge, not looking at us. I don't expect you to forgive me, she started, voice cracking. What I did was horrible. I believed Dad because I wanted to. He said if I got rid of Andrew, we'd be a real family again. Becky, Sophia began, but Becky cut her off. Please let me finish. I need to say this. She took a deep breath. I've been talking to Dad behind your back since I was 13. He found me on Instagram with a fake account, said Mom took me away for no reason, that she broke our family by overreacting. My heart sank. All those years, her behavior changes. It made sense. At first, it was just talking. Then last year, he suggested ways to make Andrew look bad. Small stuff, like the debit card. He said if I could prove Andrew wasn't a good stepdad, maybe you'd see you made a mistake, Mom. Sophia was crying silently. The laptop wasn't my idea, Becky continued, staring at the floor. Dad found the virus program, told me what to download. After the car thing, he said the only way to get rid of Andrew was to say he was inappropriate. He coached me on what to say to the counselor. I felt sick. Mark hadn't just manipulated Becky. He'd weaponized her. "Why didn't you tell me your dad was contacting you?" Sophia asked, voice shaking. Becky looked up, tears streaming. "He made me promise not to. He said you'd keep us apart, brainwash me against him like you tried before." I noticed she'd started calling him Dad instead of Dad through her confession. Small progress. "I need you both to know something," I said. "Yesterday at Mark's wasn't the first time I've seen him like that. The night your mom called me after they separated, Mark showed up drunk, pounding on the door, screaming he'd kill me. Your mom was terrified." Becky's eyes widened. "He never told me that." "Of course not," Sophia said gently. "He didn't tell you about throwing me against a wall because dinner was cold, or smashing dishes because I got home late." Becky sobbed, big gulping cries shaking her body. Sophia pulled her close. "I'm so sorry," Becky repeated. "I ruined everything." I took a deep breath. "Not everything, but you damaged a lot that'll take time to repair." That weekend, we started family therapy with Dr. Thomas. He had us sit in a triangle, making eye contact. "Becky," he said, "tell Andrew and Sophia what you're feeling right now, the raw truth." She looked terrified. "I feel ashamed and scared I've broken our family forever." Dr. Thomas turned to me. I struggled. "I feel betrayed and sad about losing years of our relationship to Mark's manipulation, but determined to rebuild." Sophia went last. "I feel guilty for not protecting either of you better and angry at Mark. So angry." Dr. Thomas nodded. "Good. Now we have somewhere to start." Therapy was brutal. Becky broke down often, revealing more about Mark's manipulation. How he said I was waiting for her to move out to have Sophia to myself. How every kind thing I did was to look good. One night, after a rough session, I found Becky on the back porch. I sat beside her, leaving space. "Can I ask you something?" I said. She nodded. "When did you stop calling me Dad? Before all this, you used to when you were little." She seemed surprised. "I don't know exactly. When I started talking to Mark, I guess. He got mad when I mentioned you, said you weren't my real dad, just some guy trying to replace him." I nodded, hiding the hurt. "I remember when you taught me to ride a bike," she said suddenly. "Mark told me that never happened, that he taught me. But I remember it was you, in that park with the big hill. You ran behind, holding the seat. You skinned your knee when I let go," I added. "But you were so proud you didn't cry." A ghost of a smile crossed her face. "Yeah, progress came in small moments. Shared memories Mark couldn't erase. Trust rebuilding inch by inch." Sophia had to process her guilt and trauma too, believing she'd protected Becky from Mark only to learn he'd found a way in. "How do we trust her again?" Sophia asked one night, a month later, lying in bed together after weeks apart. "The same way she trusts us," I replied, "one day at a time, with verification." Becky's counselor suggested a summer program for teens dealing with parental manipulation. 6 weeks at a special camp. We agreed it might help her gain perspective. The day we dropped her off, she hugged me awkwardly. "I'll text you," she promised. "I'd like that," I said, surprised. Mark violated the restraining order twice more, earning a brief jail stint. He tried contacting Becky through fake social media accounts, but Dr. Thomas had prepared her. She showed us the messages instead of responding. "He's still trying to make me feel guilty," she said, showing his latest attempt. "Says he's alone because of us." "That's manipulative language," Sophia pointed out. "Remember what Dr. Thomas said about recognizing those patterns?" Becky nodded. "Yeah, it's not my job to fix his loneliness." That summer was a turning point. While Becky was at camp, Sophia and I worked on our relationship. The trust shattered when she doubted me took time to rebuild. "I should have believed you instantly," she said on a date night. "I'll never forgive myself for hesitating." "You were caught between your husband and daughter," I reminded her. "That's impossible." When Becky returned in August, she seemed lighter, less burdened. The camp helped her understand she wasn't responsible for Mark's happiness. School started, bringing new challenges. Rumors about me lingered. Becky came home crying one day because someone called me her perv stepdad. "I told them the truth," she said, wiping her eyes, "that my biological dad manipulated me into lying. I was touched she'd defended me." "That took courage," I said. "Yeah, well," she shrugged awkwardly, "it's the least I could do." My work stabilized after I showed HR documentation clearing my name. Most colleagues were supportive, though some gave me side-eye. My sister, Jessica, became Becky's confidant, providing an outlet to process feelings without judgment. They'd go for coffee or shopping. "She's still confused but trying," Jessica reported. By Thanksgiving, we'd established a new normal, not perfect but functional. Becky saw her own therapist twice weekly, plus family sessions. Mark backed off after his lawyer explained his legal trouble. During dinner, Becky cleared her throat. "I have something for you, Andrew," she said, handing me a small wrap package. Inside was a frame with a photo, Becky, about 6, on my shoulders at the zoo, both laughing. Grandma found it in her attic, Becky explained. I don't remember that day, but we looked happy. We were, I confirmed, throat tight. You wanted to see the giraffes up close, so I hoisted you up. Thanks for being patient with me, she said quietly. I know I don't deserve it. I set the frame down. Everyone deserves a second chance, Becky, even me, even you. It wasn't all smooth. We had rough days, Becky's guilt, my lingering hurt, Sophia's self-blame, but we moved forward. By Christmas, Becky occasionally called me Dad again when her guard was down. Each time felt like a gift. On New Year's Eve, watching the ball drop, I realized families aren't perfect. They're messy, complicated, and sometimes break. But with patience and work, they can heal. When the countdown hit 0, Sophia squeezed my hand. Becky, curled up with hot chocolate, caught my eye and smiled. Happy New Year, Dad, she said quietly.